Call the City of Hawarden regular City Council meeting to order. It is Wednesday, July 25th, and it's 5:30 p.m. All are present except for Mayor Porter and Councilman Clockey. Standard agenda item 1A is approval of the July 11, 2018 council meeting minutes. Those are in your packets. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
Moved by Tim. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 1B is approval of the July 25 claims for payments. We'll start with Jen.
No questions.
None, thanks.
Tim?
No questions. So moved.
We have a motion by Tim. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 1C is open business from the community. Seeing none, we'll move to the mayor's report, and there's not one of those. We'll move to council comments. And we will move to staff reports and start with Pam.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Shocking. Tom?
Just one thing, just want to let the council know that we interviewed last week for the water wastewater position and hired Jacob Grubb. He worked for us for 3 summers part-time, and he also job shadowed Al Mace while in high school. He attended NCC for 2 years and is presently working for Sukup Construction in Sioux Falls, and he will start with us on August 6th. So
Great.
that's all I have.
Mike?
I just got a couple things. The pool will officially close on August 16 at 4 o'clock. Thanks to Travis and Agency 212, the City of Hawarden has launched a Facebook page. So if you can find it, a friend that you can kind of follow. What we'll do there is just kind of community announcements, maybe any emergency announcements we have, anything like that, just to keep the public updated. Our next meeting, Michael Mahoney from D.A. Davidson will be here. He's the one that's doing our municipal finance advising for the water treatment plant. He will go over a couple of rate proposals to start implementing. We'd probably like to start with one of the rates, or moving up the rates in October, and then the final one in July. And that's when we'll know our final numbers too. So, so he'll be here at the next meeting. So.
Okay. Jim?
I don't have anything.
Corey?
Just a couple quick things. First and foremost, we're looking into different off-street parking issues. We have a few people call in. Neighbors have been upset with people parking right in their front lawn, almost all the way up to the front door. It's a lot of people's opinions that it just doesn't look good. Also, it creates other nuisances that we have to deal with as neighborhoods. So I did a little research, talked to a couple other cities, and found some of their codes. And I basically just gave you all just a short synopsis of what other communities are doing and why they're doing it. A couple of the key ones, any of these vehicles or trailers that are parked in the front yards, that constant back and forth, using it daily or regular routine, is going to create ruts. And then when the rain comes, that mud's going to run down into our sidewalks where our people are trying to walk. Just parking up into that yard and then going back onto the street, you're dragging that mud onto the street. And, if we have anybody that's ever, ridden motorcycles or anything like that, going through that stuff can be a pain. And it's also a traffic safety issue as well. Not only that, we're losing our green space. When people drive into our community and we see these big burnouts in the front yard just from, the everyday use, one, it doesn't look good, but two, that dust travels when we do get a windy day. And, other property owners and people that live in that area shouldn't have to deal with that, in my opinion. It's nothing new. There's a lot of different cities and communities that have been doing this. So kind of what I'm looking at is anybody that has space between their front of their house to the street or if they live on a corner parcel from the side of their house to the street, any parking in between those two areas must be on an improved surface, which would eliminate them from parking in the street or just kind of pulling up into the yard. And, different things like that. What I've seen a lot of people do is they'll, either make their driveways bigger, or they will, put down some sort of hard surface that they can park on to eliminate those problems that we have. So that's one thing that we've been looking at. I did give you guys all a copy of just some of the issues or pictures that we've been called upon over this last year, just looking at different things that we feel should be taken care of. Another thing is these people that have them for long-term parking, they're not trimming around them or trimming underneath them, so you have tall grasses growing up underneath trailers and stuff like that between the street and the dwelling, and we see all sorts of different infestations, whether it's rabbits or other rodents, things of that manner. I did see a bunch of bull thistles underneath one at one point, which is also a nuisance weed or a noxious weed, and those are things that we're trying to eliminate. And I think overall, it's gonna give a positive impact, to the community. A lot of the violations I've seen are right on our main thoroughfares as they come in and out of town. So if you're just a passerby coming through our community, we want people to, think of Hawarden as something that is good, not, something out of the West where people just throw their horse or their trailer wherever they want, So I think there's a lot of different reasons that we should look at making some sort of ordinance. It wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary, just like any other infraction we have, through our scheduled violations as far as $250 for a first offense. But I want to work with everybody, if they're having issues and can't find a place to park, we'll take the time and try to help them, find a lawful place to park their vehicles. But other than that, I think it's something that we should definitely consider, and I'm open to any suggestions about that or any questions that anyone would have with that.
So you're looking at like gravel or concrete or any kind of enhanced,
rock.
just not dirt or grass?
Correct, just not dirt. Like I said, when we have it on dirt, when the rain comes, we have mud. And an improved surface, that could be, a nice crushed rock or ideally, pavement, but I know it's not cost effective for some people, and we're not trying to put anybody in a pinch. If you look at a lot of those pictures, they're parking there out of mere convenience, not because they can't afford to make a bigger driveway. There's one parcel that we investigated and they have a driveway, they have a garage, but they have 5 vehicles and all the vehicles are parked on the grass and nothing is in the driveway or the garage, which is to me just doesn't make a lot of sense. And it could easily be fixed. It might take some people asking questions and for us to go out there and educate these people on why it's not a good thing for them. And we're more than capable of doing that. We want to do that. Like I said, our main mission here is to benefit everybody in the community as opposed to just a few people. Another issue along these same parking lines is we see a lot of people that are parking against the flow of traffic, or people that pull and park on the opposite side to where their door is actually next to the curb. And that is illegal not only by the city ordinance, but it's also illegal according to state law. I know it's a small community, and people think that it's not that big of a deal, but I can assure you that it is. We have people that park in that manner, and then you have someone in front of you and someone behind you, and then you go to pull out. How safe can you look behind you to see if anyone's coming? It's not safe whatsoever. So we're really trying to educate people and stop, and we've left some written warnings to people, just like I said, as a line of education as opposed to any enforcement right now, because it is a big change, but I think it's something that's necessary. It's hard enough to see a 3-year-old kid as he's going down his bike, let alone trying to do it when you're improperly parked. So that's another thing that we have going on right now. And thirdly, we're actually running somewhat of a little test here on people utilizing their camper/trailers as a non-taxable extension of their home, if you will. I know that we've had a report of an individual that's allowed people to live in this summer. As far as having like the sewer line going out and just letting everything run into the gravel. Obviously, if that was your neighbor, you wouldn't want that coming out towards your house or, in that area. So, these are things that we're looking at and we're trying to find, do a little research to find what would be the most appropriate that would fit our needs here in our community. And as well as the parking in between the house and the street. Obviously, snow emergencies, gatherings where off-street parking is just not available. Short-term things like that will be excluded from the ordinance. We're just looking at the daily, regular, long-term parking that we see way too often. Other than that, that's basically where we're at right now.
Any questions or comments on that?
With some of the other ordinances that you see in the other cities, has it been received well?
Yes, a lot of it is just education and talking to these people. A lot of people don't know why it's not appropriate to do such a thing, and just taking a few moments out of your time and explaining to them, this is what's happening and this is why this person's affected by it. It really opens their eyes, and it's been received very well in other communities. A lot of people get concerned, like, well, what if I'm moving in? I can't move. Well, absolutely. We don't want you to not be able to pull up there and move in. We just don't want you doing it every day. And, different things like that. I haven't had anybody in any of the communities I've worked in previously that have had the same ordinance really fight it or get upset by it. We've had some people that, handicaps was an issue where they just can't make it. And all it took was a couple people that would throw something together for them, help them out, and make it available to them. And that's what a community is supposed to do, is work together in situations like that. And I think Hawarden would definitely step up and help people that have a necessity for it, as opposed to just convenience.
Okay. Have you had any trouble with anybody, particular, some people do like to have a trailer, to haul grass and that kind of thing on? How do you decide where they keep that?
Well, basically, if you would take an aerial photo of someone's residence and say they live in the middle of the block, you would basically draw a line from the face of the home that's facing the street. Anything beyond that, they'd be allowed to park on, as long as they're not on a corner. If they're on a corner, then it would also include that side that the face sits on. So anything to the rear of the home is more than acceptable. Ideally, it'd be nice to throw some rock down or something like that, but, I think at some point, it's their property, and we, should allow them to park utility trailers or whatnot on that. I think where we run into the issue is when, we don't do anything at all, and we don't preserve the beauty of each home or make it aesthetically sound for the whole community. I think that's where we would lose. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of comments wanting to support something similar to that. So I
Mhm.
don't think you'd see much objection to it.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Pam, did you have a question?
No.
Do you have an ordinance in mind, something you think you'd like to see? Something you've used in the past that you would?
And it's very consistent with what we talked about. I just was reading through the city of Atumwa's, and it's pretty close to, I think, what would be a good model for us. It could be something that, Jim could take a look at and get some ideas from. It's like I said, it's nothing new. I think we're just a little bit behind everybody else. It definitely needs to come at some point, and I think we're just trying to, get ahead of it a little bit.
So would the council be in agreeance to put that on the next agenda or have a draft of that?
Yeah.
Type
I'd
of
like a
ordinance?
sample or something to be able to look at.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. Anything else on that? Anything else from Corey?
No, that pretty
Are
much.
you sure?
What's that?
Are you sure?
Well, I could probably go a couple more minutes on a few things if you'd like.
Okay, I
No,
do.
we're-
have a
Sure,
question.
okay.
Do that if they're gonna be allowed to park in the backyard, are we gonna require that they have an approved drive to the backyard, or can they run their ruts to the backyard all the time?
Well, I don't think they'd be allowed to lose any of the green space in the front. if they have, you know, the ability for rear parking with an alley.
Okay, it's not, well, I just heard you say it's all right as long as it's not between the street and in front of the house or the street and the side of the house. I'm just concerned that we have people then, because they're always looking for the next thing, you know, so then they're gonna drive around in the back and we have ruts
Sure.
through your front yard. So I'm thinking we need to, if they're gonna have anything where they're doing it in the back and in the side, then we probably need to require them to have an improved drive back to their.
Correct. I think you're right on with that. If they're going to utilize their rear parking or rear space in the back of the property, they would have to have some sort of improvement. Right.
And that would be for frequent.
Right, for your daily, regular, or long-term parking.
Yeah.
You know, if it's just a utility trailer that they use once a month, you're not going to end up with the ruts. You know, it's when we get the ruts that would be an issue.
Okay, good. Moving on to other agenda items. Agenda 3 is approval of the annual bad debt write-offs. Mike?
These are, it's an annual thing we do, and what we do is true up our books. We write these off basically in the books, but we continue to try and collect them. The write-offs are, you know, extremely, the utility ones especially, extremely low considering the amount of money we take in or the amount of utilities we bill. You know, the ladies up front do an excellent job at trying to stay up on those and collect those. These will either, they'll go to collections, they'll go to the offset program or something like that. We'll continue to try and collect them. We just need to take them off the books. Ambulance write-offs, you know, it's Medicare, Title 19, things like that, that the government says this is what we're paying you and that's all you're getting. Those cannot be collected from the individual. Basically, it's saying this is how much we're paying them. So, but even those numbers are 25,000 less than last year, so it's actually a pretty good year for the write-offs that we're doing.
Good. Do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Moved by John, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jen, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item number 4 is approval of the purchase of a new Vermeer vacuum excavator. Tom?
We had Vermeer, it's a McLaughlin that Vermeer sells, and Ditch Witch come in and present the two products that they have. Vermeer's is a 49 horsepower, which is what we have in our existing model, and Ditch Witch has a 24 horsepower, and we have a 500-gallon spoil tank. Ditch Witch has a 300-gallon. They did make a 500-gallon. They have discontinued that. They now go to an 800-gallon tank. The Vermeer has a 1,025 CFM blower. Ditch Witch has 512, about half of that. And the gross vehicle weight is a little bit lighter on the Vermeer. And Ditch Witch does overbuild their trailers a little bit. They're 14,000 gross vehicle weight. We were a little concerned with that for pulling it with a 3/4 ton four-wheel drive pickup. Because 12,000 is going to be a little, as long as we're in town, we'll be okay. Because right now we have a truck-mounted unit that's on an old fire truck, a 1977 fire truck. That's kind of an interesting thing to drive. We do need the 500-gallon tank for, especially, we use it for lift stations if we need to pull material out of that, if perhaps the pumps are down and we have to pull the pumps, we have to evacuate that. The Ditch Witch with the 300-gallon tank would not work real well with that. The other part is that blower, which relates to the horsepower as well. We have 150 foot of 3-inch hose on our present unit, and we take that down to the bottom of the swimming pool and clean leaves and the last maybe foot or so of water out of that. It doesn't drain completely out, so that all has to be pumped out. The 24 horsepower, 500 cubic foot per unit, the Ditch Witch would not be able to take that out. Ditch Witch does have a model that has 49 horsepower. It is an 800-gallon tank, and it is 20,000 gross vehicle weight. So 20,000 pounds we would need a small semi to be pulling that around probably. So Ditch Witch did not come and even demo their unit because they said it would not meet our needs with the amount of suction we need. Another reason for the 150 foot of hose, if we happen to be on Central Avenue and somebody in their backyard, and we have no alley access, we can reach that as well. So we use it for evacuating the pool, evacuating lift stations. We pothole with it, so we locate utilities. And it's probably used 3 to 5 days a week in summertime anyway. It is budgeted this year at $60,000. They are going to give us $15,000 on trade on the old unit, which I was quite surprised about. But so the old one is a Ring-O-Matic. It's a yellow and green unit. You might have seen it around town with a white cab fire truck. I guess we're just looking for your blessing to go ahead and purchase the Vermeer unit.
So moved.
We have a motion by Tim. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item number 5 is Home-Based Iowa presentation. Mike?
This isn't going to be a long presentation. I don't know if anybody's heard of Home-Based Iowa. Iowa is a home-based Iowa state. Sioux County is a home-based Iowa county. And then several cities have gone ahead and passed resolutions to make them home-based Iowa communities. And what it is basically it's a searchable website that veterans can go to, and they can seek out communities or jobs that are listed under this home-based Iowa designation. Right now, Orange City, Rock Valley, and Sioux Center are all parts of it, and they offer a small incentive. One of them offers a $2,000 incentive if somebody comes to their community and builds a new house. Under the home-based Iowa, it's just signing up for it. There's not a cost to it, but then they encourage your community to, let's say we have a veteran that comes and wants to relocate to your community to work at, like Coilcraft or somewhere. And then if they would come and visit the community, a lot of communities will give them a welcome basket, welcome to Hayward. And we could arrange that through the chamber. And then the business that they are interested in may give them a welcome basket or something like that. It's a way to connect veterans with communities that are welcoming, and it's also a way for businesses to recruit people. I know Coilcraft has just signed up about a month or two ago on the Home-Based Iowa webpage. But the problem, and they're the ones that brought this to me, but the problem is Hawarden's not on there. Hawarden doesn't have a searchable designation, so thus Coilcraft can't be on there. So if we designate, then we can get more businesses to sign up that, would welcome or recruit more employees. So, it's a very low cost or no cost program. It may help some of our businesses who are looking for employees. It also may help if we have somebody from here that went to the military and they want to come back, or they're a veteran and they want to come back to the community. It'll just create a more welcoming, searchable database, and also let them know what jobs or employers are available. So as I said in my memo, I'd like to come back at the next meeting with just a resolution to designate Hawarden as a home-based Iowa community.
Sure. I think it sounds good.
Okay.
So do you have to sign up for some of the housing and hotel incentives and kind of be able to put your name on all the lists, or?
Yeah, you go and you sign up, and then I believe you just figure out as a community or as a city or whatever, if what incentives you want to give. If you looked under some of the other communities, Orange City, their Chamber of Commerce will pay for a hotel room. Sioux Center, they'll make a reservation and get a discount. you know, it's just whatever you want to work with your chambers and stuff to get, or even your hotels or restaurants. And then the housing incentive, you know, Rock Valley gives a $5,000 interest-free loan for new home construction, or a $3,000 grant for new home construction. So, you know, if we could get somebody to move to town and build a new home, what the offset of the new tax base versus the, you know, the $3,000 incentive, or Sioux Center's just $2,000 incentive, or, you know, is more than offsets the cost of that in 1 year, so.
So I kind of give you the basis of what to consider, and we still decide really what we want to do.
We'll still decide kind of what incentive we want to look at. The chamber obviously will decide, you know, on the, you know, whether they want to offset a hotel room, or whether we just work directly with our motel to receive it, you know, a 20% discount. So, you know, it's just kind of, we don't have to have those decisions made right away. And if we choose as a community not to offer any incentives, we still get, you know, on the website, we still get the searchable database and things like that, so.
Okay. Anything else on that? All right, we'll move to agenda item number 6, which is a public hearing on proposed amendment to the Consolidated Hawarden Urban Renewal Area. At this time, we will open the public hearing. And Mike, do you have anything on that?
I have not received any written or verbal comments on that.
Okay. Do you want to explain a little bit more on that?
Well, basically, with the tax rebate agreement that we're working on, we have to include any new tax rebate that's going to come from a TIF area and be spent in a urban renewal area. We have to include that in our plan. So as each one of these come up, we'll have to amend our plan to include that particular business. So what this does is public hearing saying we're going to amend our plan, and then we'll have a resolution to amend the plan, and then at the next meeting, we'll have another public hearing on the plan itself and the tax rebate agreement. So it's just another step we got to go to get where we're going, and this is basically letting the community know that we are having the public hearing to amend our plan, to amend our urban renewal area plan, and then the resolution that follows will be accepting the amendment.
Okay. At this time, we will close the public hearing and move to 6B, which is Resolution 2018-23, to approve the Urban Renewal Plan Amendment for the Consolidated Hawarden Renewal Area. Do we have a motion for that?
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Jen. Roll call vote, please.
Kurth,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
That motion carries 4-0. Agenda item number 7 is Resolution 2018-24, setting a date for public hearing at which it is proposed to approve a development agreement with ISMA Property LLC, including annual appropriation tax increment payments. Mike?
This is where we're setting the public hearing for the next meeting, and then there'll be a resolution to follow that we are approving the ISMA tax rebate agreement, as he had a verbal agreement with somebody prior. This will be a 5-year agreement. It will give him a rebate on his property taxes at 75% the first year, and dropping increments of 15% 5 years, which will be the last one of 15%. So we have to have a public hearing on it, and then we have to pass a resolution on that, accepting that.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that?
So move.
We have a motion by John. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jen. Roll call vote, please.
Olson,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Kurth.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Agenda item 8 is consent agendas, but there are none, so we are moving to agenda 9, which is adjournment. Do we have a motion? Moved by Jen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hawarden City Council is adjourned.